And I'm up here with notes because it's interesting. I came in here with a set speech that I was ready to do, and then after hearing everybody talk today, my mind was spinning and things were changing, and so I've got a different set of notes on my notes. So I apologize for having these, but you know, I figured it would be the best way. So anyway, I am David Ratner, the owner of David Ratner Publicity and Publishing Consulting, and obviously you're wowed by my creativity on my company name, but I promise it'll get better from here. And I have had actually closer now to 30 years of working with authors and from all walks of life. And what I want to say, to reiterate, because it's been said, is I'm incredibly impressed with all of the group of authors who sat up here today and talked about their book. I have worked literally with thousands of authors, CEO, Fortune 500s, Fortune 50s, you name it, I have worked with them. And not all of them can use the anecdotes that you've all used incredibly well. Not all of them can get their message across so crystal clear as you have to prove what your unique selling proposition is. So kudos to all of you for the preparation that you've put in, and frankly blown away mine, in here. But there's a lot of wisdom, and it's important. Your book, and what I'm here to talk about is your book, on using that book as a way to amplify that wisdom. Right, your book is your best piece of brand equity. We live in a world where personal and corporate branding and thought leadership are critical, and books are game changers, right? And so what I always say is that the beauty of books is that a product, books get a free pass because they're information, they're education, to a certain extent, they're entertainment. And so it's often easier to promote what you're doing, your products, your services, your training, et cetera, under the auspices of a book versus just trying to sell that product, service, or training. And so that's why you need to use it. So what are the values that a book brings? Obviously, some of these things you know quite well. It establishes your authority and expertise, right? A lot of you work in different niches, and it's important for you to be perceived as an expert in your field in order to generate new business opportunities. And then everybody else is giving you amazing advice and information about building relationships, maintaining relationships, using your network and all of that, and that's incredibly important as well. And the really cool thing about books too is even if people don't read it, you have it, right? And it's also great because it's something tangible, right? It's something you can hand somebody. It's your new business card. And for some of you, you've written multiple books, so you're just updating your business card, which is a really smart thing to do. And also, we live in a world where we hear that content is king. Well, this is your long form, content, and it demonstrates your depth and knowledge on a topic or topics. And it's a lot easier to establish that more quickly than just continuing to put blog posts up and social media and other things, which are all important and relevant. But at the same time, your book is a great thing to have. And so, that's there. And then obviously it builds credibility and trustworthiness. I mean, trust is everything today in business. You all know that. And so your book sort of demonstrates a commitment and a depth of knowledge and an effort that you've put in to help build that trust and put in the time and effort. Writing a book's not easy. And I tell most of my clients, look, in the end, you may give away more books than you end up selling, but that's fine, right? I mean, it's very difficult to make money selling books these days, right? So the way you are going to do that is by selling in bulk, right? We get clients in Forbes and Fast Company and all these places. You're not making a lot of sales off one-off sales based on those kinds of things. So use your book, right? Whenever you travel, when you go to a conference, whatever you're doing, bring copies of your book to hand to people. You just never know what's going to happen with it. So I would say too often I run into clients who have worked so hard to put their energy and time into writing their book and producing their book, but then really haven't thought about what's next. And it's really important for you to think about that. What is your ROI? And it's different for everybody, right? Obviously, for most people, they want to use it as a lead generator, right? So it's a financial ROI, it's a new business ROI. But for other people, it's an emotional ROI. For other people, it's an altruistic ROI. I've got plenty of clients that I work with who've been very successful over the years, who write their book not to make any money off it, not to do anything else, other than to share their wisdom with people who, that they want to be successful also. So it is along those Simon Sinek lines, right? It's understanding your why, and everybody's why is different. But I would say most of my clients, and I suspect most of you in this room, are using it as an integral part of your overall marketing and branding strategy, right? It's validation of your thought leadership. It's building credibility, amongst your peers. It's helping you start or grow a speaking platform. And it's important for generating content for your social marketing and sales channels. And really just amplification to new audiences. So what do you think about when you're trying to use your book as a tool? Your most valuable asset is your network, right? And these are the people who know you, who trust you, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, clients, et cetera, and they're gonna be your first adopters. Too often, I think people underuse their networks or don't use them wisely, right? A lot of times you hear people say, well, I'm just gonna ask everybody to read it and post a review on Amazon. That's not the best use of everybody in your network, right? You may have people who can facilitate a bulk sale for you. You might have people who say, yeah, we'll buy a bunch of books if you do a webinar for our clients. You may have people who in your network who have a large social media following. So posting there is much better. I know Amazon reviews are important to people. I'm a big believer that 90% of people who go to buy a book on Amazon are not shopping for books on Amazon. They're buying the book that they know that they're going to get. If you're buying a grill, if you're buying a mattress, you're reading the reviews, you're comparing and contrasting. If you're going to buy a book, most likely you're not going, well, what are the top leadership books? Now, some people do, and that's fine. But again, just think about, I would say, create these ask silos, right? And put people in different silos and ask what they can do that's most valuable to you. For a lot of you, that's gonna be uncomfortable, right? A lot of people in this room, very modest, but I tell my clients, when your book comes out, you've got to put modesty aside. Don't be afraid to make the ask. Some people are gonna say yes and do things beyond your expectations. Some people are gonna say yes with the best of intentions and never do it. Some aren't gonna respond, but I can promise you nobody's gonna be offended, right? Put the shoe on the other foot. If somebody comes and asks you, you might not do it, but you understand that they've got a new book out and it's just part of the process. But really think about, and think about that network well in advance, right? Don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait till the book is done. Integrate it into your process. So one of the foundational pieces of work that I do is the PR side of things, right? So I help my clients generate articles, as we've talked about earlier, get them as guests on podcasts, Q&A pieces, reviews, and any other coverage that highlight their thought leadership, their expertise. I tell all my clients when we engage for PR, it's really important for them to think holistically, not to just think between the pages, but think between your ears, right? Sometimes the book is just the shiny piece of eye candy that's gonna open doors to create opportunities that may otherwise be difficult to do. So think about that as well. You may wanna write about and talk about topics that are not really covered in your book, but are really important to your business strategy. And your book creates that opportunity. When we send it to pitches and such to editors at Forbes or Fast Company or other places, they're not reading the book, right? They're going based on a great pitch that we've sent them, based on your bio as a thought leader and someone who's an expert in your field, and they're trusting that you're gonna deliver really good information. As Russell said before, there's the beauty of niche, right? And the B2B, and it's really important. We talked about this at our session over here that, sometimes doing a podcast that only has 2,500 listeners, some people might frown at that, but those are 2,500 people who've opted in to hear about subject matter that host brings to the table. And so the host, if you're doing that, that's great. You could do WBZ in Boston or something like that maybe 250,000 people are listening to, but none of them might be the right people for you. So, understanding your niche is really important. Other coverage, again, those guest articles are great because they are shareable content. I do it a little differently. We do the sort of the bigger umbrellas we talked about. Obviously, the B2B stuff is great, and that's probably going to generate more business. And you said it, it's not always the sexiest stuff that is going to win you new business. But at the same time, I'm a believer in the sexy stuff, right? I think it's important if you can get into the Wall Street Journal, a Fast Company, or Forbes. They are differentiators, and they are things that people pay attention to. And so I think an integration of both is really, really important. And the hope is that this coverage that we generate for you is going to get your phone to ring, right? But realistically, we don't live in that if you build it, they will come world anymore. And you cannot live with that mindset, right? You have to take the assets that your publicist brings to the table with the amplification work that they've done, and then you've got to re-amplify it through your own channels, through your social marketing, sales channels, newsletters, and whatever other outgoing communication that you have. And they're differentiators. They make a difference. In the end, what I like to think is that maybe they'll be the tipping point, right? So you've got a business, you're competing for a particular client, they're looking at you, they're looking at somebody else, but you've handed them your book. You've shared with them the 4 articles that have been posted, the 3 podcasts or 5 podcasts or 10 podcasts you've done. And that client looks and goes, yeah, that's the person we need to work with. They're the one who's out there. They're the one building presence, being proactive, and really establishing authority. I've been fortunate enough in the close to 30 years of being in the PR and marketing industry to see the incredible transformation and disruption that has happened in the industry, right? Henry is a disruptor, okay? 20 years ago, to be an author, it was a pretty exclusive club, right? You had to find an agent, you had to find a traditional publisher, you had to go through the process, and you had to play by their rules. It's very different today, right? By hook or crook, anybody can be an author, okay? You can work with a great company like Henry, you can try to do it through Amazon or whatever, but if you want to produce a book, you can produce a book. And that is a great thing for everybody in this room, outside of this room, what have you. The disruption has totally made the traditional publishing industry rethink what they're doing, and they're not doing a good job of keeping up. I always say I have this picture in my mind. It's a big circle, and in it sits the traditional publishing industry. And on the outside are people like you and my smart clients and smart business people who are just going, how does anybody make any money doing this? Like, what the hell is going on here? They don't support their authors. And so the hybrid models and the self-publishing models allow you to control speed to market, content, and all of the other things, cover design and all of the other things. And so I am a huge believer in that model. And again, when you can find people like Henry and others that are out there doing what they do, it's great to have that advocate for you. And then just lastly, you know, there's lots of other things you can do besides PR today, right? So, you know, we can get you an Amazon bestseller very easily, which for us who are close to the industries kind of know that it's not that big a deal, but Amazon's one of the biggest brands in the world. And for people who aren't as close to it as maybe I am or some of you are, it's a badge of honor. It's a social badge. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it does make people think twice about it. There's other bestseller lists you can do. Obviously, there's awards. And again, those are badges of honor. There's lots of awards out there, and there's lots of opportunities to win them. But there's cool things today that are happening. Influencer marketing campaigns, you know, getting TikTokers and Instagrammers and other people to talk about your book. And I know we live in this business world, and a lot of us don't think our audience is on TikTok and Instagram, but they are. They are. And the good companies can find them. And that's the difference, you know, for them. There's digital marketing campaigns. A lot of my clients are, you know, using their book as a platform for TEDx talks, things like that, which obviously Frank knows quite a bit about. And then also creating passive income opportunities through courses or online classes and those kinds of things. So again, you all know this because I suspect that everybody in this room has written their book as a piece of brand equity. And so really think about how you're going to utilize it. Explore all of the opportunities that exist out there. Find the ones that make sense for your goals, for your needs, for your budgets, and, you know, use that great tool that you've spent so much time and energy to put together.